Hey everyone, this is Angie. Today I have a Christmas gift box to share. It's a very unique one because look at the sides. Isn't that cute? I love the sides on this one. This is the front of it, and I'm using the Delicate Pines by Stampin'Up, of course. And it is absolutely gorgeous. I hope you can see the detail in here. I absolutely love these pines. They look so real. The pine cones and the little pine needles are so pretty on this. And yeah, this is what we're going to make. I put a large magnet on this one. I did cover them, but I want to use the small ones, but the small ones don't hold this because of the way this is. See, it wants to pop back. So I just use the larger ones, and I have them linked in the description below. They come with the small and the large, so I just use the larger ones. You can also use a belly band. I'll give you the measurements if you want to rather use a belly band, and you can put all this on the belly band and just pull the belly band off. It's all up to you. I just wanted to use this, and also you're probably going to be making this for an adult because it doesn't look like a kid's one, so that's why I use the large magnets. I don't use magnets on the ones for the kids. I'm so scared that they will get them off or they will get in the wrong hands. So I always use Velcro. You can also use the Velcro dots on this. But I felt like the magnets would hold better. So this is what I'm sharing today. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name's Angie. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I post on Tuesdays and Sundays. So let's get started with this. If you haven't subscribed, of course, subscribe and do all the things. So that will help my channel greatly. So for this, I'm using Old Olive. You do need 12 by 12 for this. I don't do a lot that need 12 by 12, but yeah, this definitely is a 12 by 12 because it is 11 by 10, the size, and then you need to mat it. This is the Traditions of Christmas. This is the one I've been using a lot lately. This is the back side of this gorgeous paper. And this is, one is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4 and 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And if you want to do a belly band, it will be, I did it first in the Old Olive. You can do whatever color you want, however you want. It's 10 by 1. So all of these measurements will be in the inspiration sheet on my blog at StampingWithAmore.com. All right, let's get started with this. I cut all the pieces out. This is the stamp set, the bundle that I'm using, the Delicate Pines. Y'all, this is so gorgeous. Look at this, and I want to show you the amount of dies in here. There are 22 dies in here, but look at these dies, y'all. This is such a beautiful set. So I already pulled the pieces that I'm using here. They are this pine right here. We're going to cut 2 of those. I'm cutting 3 of the pine cones, and then these are for the berries, and we are just going to cut the 3 of the berries out on that. By the way, I always get asked what that is, and it is a die holder, and it helps for you to not lose dies. I have it linked in the description, and it has been a lifesaver for me because I'm always losing dies. All right, so let's get started. Let's go ahead. I'm going to show you all the pieces here first because they are so pretty. But look how delicate these are. I'm going to take this away for a minute. Look how delicate these are. Aren't they gorgeous? And y'all, you can hook these together and make a gorgeous wreath out of it. If you had 1 more or 2 more, you can make a beautiful wreath out of this. I'm planning on doing a card with that pretty soon, so watch for that. But there are 3 pine cones right here, and I think they look so good. They look so real. And then 3 of these berries right here, and I did these in cherry cobbler. This is pecan pie and of course Old Olive. And then I did cut out a piece for the sentiment, and that piece is, I believe it was 5/8. I think it's 5/8, but I'm going to cut this shorter. So I'll have it in the inspiration sheet on my blog, the exact measurement. All right, so let's get started with the box. So we need to score this, of course. And we are going to start scoring on the 11-inch side, and you're going to score this at 3. and 5.5. And then you're going to flip it around and you're going to score it on the 10-inch side at 3 and 7. Y'all, this is the only measurements on this. It's crazy how that box comes out of just this simple measurements. All right, so what we're going to do first, there's this larger piece right here, and then the smaller. And here's the middle part. We're going to save this part because we want this, but we want to make glue tabs. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut from this score line here, I'm going to cut up here, maybe about 1 inch. And then we're going to cut down, all the way down on this one. So cut it all the way down. And you're going to cut through where you just cut here. And we're making our own glue tabs right here. So I'm going to cut into these. We're going to do it on the other side of this rectangle. It's kind of like a rectangle, but save these pieces because you know you can cut your die pieces out of that. I did use that for my little pine needles. And then this one is the same. These don't have to be exactly straight or perfect because they are just glue tabs. And then you're going to cut down on this one. And then you're going to cut into these. I'll try to make that straighter because, you know, I'm particular like that. I say they don't have to be straight, but that's how I am. All right. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. You're going to cut about 1 inch or so here and cut down here. Cut all the way down and then cut into these. And then do the same on this side. I like to make them pretty good size, like at least 1 inch, so that it holds the box together really good. I don't know why this side I tend to make a little crooked. Then you're going to cut into here. We do have to hand score a little bit, but it's very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this, but I usually just use my stylus, but it's 2.5. So we're going to mark it at 1 1/4 in the middle of this here. Just mark a little dot there. And then do the same on this side. Mark it at 1 1/4. And then we're going to score down to this corner. I love doing this on, you've seen me do this a million times, I'm sure, but yeah, it's the same idea. So we're scoring down there, and it's an upside down V. We're going to do the other side the same way. This is what makes the kind of uniqueness of this box and how it is on the side, that little kind of V shape. Make sure you get into your corners because that makes a difference in how your box will fold. So I'm going to score on these, sharpen those, and sharpen these. And then these are going to go the opposite way. I'm going to do these all. And then these come in this way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mat this first. So we are going to mat it. One of these pieces is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4, and one's 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Again, these measurements will be in the inspiration sheet. I'm going to use my regular seal for this. I like to put a lot on because I don't want it to lift up the corners and stuff, especially when it's a really nice box that I'm going to give to an adult. I mean, I'm fussy on every single box I make, but I'm really, especially when it's like a fancy kind of box. All right, and then we're gonna do this one. And one thing I like to do on this kind of a box, I'll take like, normally I'll take my bone folder, but it's not big enough for this piece, so I will just like take this and kind of round it to give it already that rounded look. This is going to be the top that folds over. You can do it on the side of your table. You don't have to do it with a ruler, but it kind of breaks down the cardstock a little bit, and it does help it when you're putting it together. All right, let's go ahead and glue this. I'm going to go ahead, let's use some tear and tape for this. All right, I'm going to put it on my pieces here. I'll put it on all 4 of these pieces. Okay, so we have it on all 4 of these, and we are going to remove the backings now. We'll do one side at a time here. And then you're going to just line this up. Press that down real good. And let's remove these before we get into this here. It'll be a little bit easier, I think. All right, let's pull these up. Line that up there, and then we're ready to put this one on. This is really a pretty box. Let me use my bone folder. Again, I love this because of this end here. I don't know how I lived without that for so long. All right, now this is the part where it squeezes together, and we're going to fold it down. Now, this is where when we put the magnets on, I'm using a little bit of super glue under them. I want them to stay really good because, like I said, this tends to want to keep opening and popping up. Should I try the Velcro dots? If you're going to use Velcro dots because they're so small, I would put them on the ends here. I would put like 2 on the ends. Let's just stick with the larger magnets. So these are the ones that I'm using right here. You need a positive and a negative, just like on the small ones. So let's get those out. These things are really strong, and you'd think they would hold this together like without putting, I always put a little bit of glue behind them, but this time I had to use a little bit of super glue to keep them on. So if you're using these, just be real careful with them. And I'm going to line these up first. Put this one on here. And then, oh, I'm going to end up ripping this paper if I don't put the glue on here. All right, let's grab, I just have a little thing of super glue. And the super glue, it'll dry pretty fast. Just don't get it on your fingers. It is like not good. We work a lot at work with super glue, and oh my gosh, I'm telling you how many times I have glued my fingers together. I'm going to mark this about where it needs to go. And we're going to do the other one. It's so funny because the guy that, well, he doesn't work here anymore. He worked with me for 10 years or 20 years. And He just got like his dream job. But him and I, oh my gosh, how many times we had to help each other unglue our fingers with this super glue. So we're gonna, so be very careful with it. All right, let me cover this up because I don't want to, I actually got this one at the Dollar Tree. So hopefully they're going to stay on there. Let's grab some Designer Series paper. I have a 1-inch circle punch, and I am going to just go ahead and cover these. You don't have to if you're giving it to an adult, but I think it just makes it a little bit cuter if you cover them. I'm going to use some glue dots actually to hold them on. And I just try to line up the lines if I can that are on here, and it kind of blends in. And then we'll do this one. Okay, now hopefully that is dry enough. Put these down like that. This is where I'll kind of like fool with it. It can be a little finicky. I'm just gonna tell you that. Okay, now we got it nice and straight on there. Let's get all our little pieces, and we are going to put these all on here. And I'll try to hold it so that you can see how I'm doing this. I'm going to just use wet glue for it. And I just took these two pieces. These little dots are here if you want to make a wreath. It'll help you line them up. I'm just going to glue that right in the center there. And then we're going to glue this. And I'm only gluing this to the top part here. So everything's going to be glued to the top where that pops up. Alright, so we're going to do that one. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to use some pecan pie. And I'm going to use one of my little brushes here. And my blending brush. And I'm going to add a little bit to this. Make the edges darker. I wanted to do it on those, but yeah, that looks really good. I like that little extra on the edge. Gives it a little bit more character. Yeah, you can do it how you like. I'm going to add a little bit more to this one. There. Look how cute those are. I could do it to these too, but they're really tiny. So I think I'm going to leave those alone. Alright, let's scoot this out of the way. Let's put on our pine cones here. Y'all, we used to have, I probably told this story before, we used to have two huge pine trees in our front yard as kids. That's why I think there's such a love for the pine needles and the pine cones. It reminds me of when I was younger. And we always had some beautiful pine cones, big old pine cones. Our trees were really, really big. My dad had to cut one down one time. I don't know, was sick or something, and my dad had to cut one of them down. But oh my gosh, they were so pretty. Okay, got that on there. I'm going to grab the bow. So I am using this Mossy Meadow, and it's so pretty. It's real gritty, and it's got gold trim on it. I'm using this for the bow. Now I'm just going to make a bow here. And let's make these even. I keep these tails a little bit longer. I might might cut them a little bit, but I'm leaving the tails a little bit longer. All right, I am going to go ahead and use some glue dots on that. I'll probably use a couple on here just to make sure it stays on. I'm going to put that in the center here, and then we're going to add, and look at I did, oh, don't do that, ooh. There, I messed up the bow. Okay, we will have to cut that side. It's a little bit too long. And then we're going to add these little berries here. Let's add one here, and let's add one on this side. And like everything that I'm putting on is on this top piece. And then let's put one, I'm going to put the sentiment up here. So I think I'm going to put this one, because I covered up the sentiment on the other one. You don't even have to put all three on, but I just love that little pop of cherry cobbler there. Right there. And then let's stamp the sentiment real quick. And I am using the pecan pie for the sentiment as well. It says warmest winter wishes. You can put Merry Christmas, any sentiment that you like. I think I need to use the smaller one. And I am going to flag the end. And we don't need all that, so we'll cut that a little shorter. This piece is actually 2.5 inches now that I cut it and down to size and all that. So let's just stick the sentiment. I really love the sentiment on this one. Let's use some Seal Plus here. And I'm just going to stick it in here underneath. Just like that. I do have it still a little bit too long here. There we go. All right, there we have it. Isn't that pretty? I love these pines and the berries. I love it all. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's really fun. If you have to fiddle with the magnet, just be patient. It'll stick like this. It'll work out just fine. You just have to be a little patient with it. And if you have any super glue or anything like that, I recommend using that to hold down the magnets, because that little fine thin piece doesn't hold on something like this. So yeah, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. If you need any supplies, you can shop on my blog at stampingwithamore.com. I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later, everyone. Bye.